Hey there, third grade. This is Mr. Campbell. Today we are starting a new topic 4. We're going to be starting on page 117. So go ahead and start opening in your book with me to page 117 right now. Today we are going to be doing 4.1, relate multiplication and division. All right, at the end of our lesson today, we want to be able to say, I can use fact families to see how multiplication and division are related. And the same way that addition and subtraction are related, that they work together, we can use multiplication and division in the same way. And so today we're going to be looking at that a little bit more to say, well, what does that look like? How does that work as we start to work on some division problems? So today we're going to be going through some things together a little bit slower. There's going to be some things I'm going to be asking you to pay really close attention, because I'm going to be going over things on the screen with you that it's going to help if you pay attention up front with me. Well, let's go ahead and turn to page 118 as we get started on our lesson. All right, so here we are on page 118. If you're not there, pause the video and get there right now. And we're going to take a look at this array. Now, remember, in our last topic, we talked all about arrays. And an array is a way for us to group things into equal rows and columns in order for us to be able to multiply them and break them down into some smaller, easier parts. So this whole thing right here is called an array. And over here, we've got our multiplication. So here we have 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, all right? And in each of those rows, we have 10 drums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10, 10, and 10. So 3 times 10. Now, we can do that by multiplying 3 times 10 and finding that we have 30 drums. So all the way together here, there are 30. And that makes sense, right? Because we could count this. So we could say 10, 20, 30. So putting them into these groups helps us to be able to count by tens. Well, now we're going to flip it around and say, well, what's the division problem that we could use? Well, in division, we always start with the largest number. So when you take a look here, when we multiplied 3 times 10, the largest number was over here. It was our product, which is the answer for a multiplication problem, right? 3 and 10 are both smaller numbers than 30. And that's part of the way that we know that this makes sense. Well, when we do division, we start with the largest number. So we start with the whole thing as our first part. So 30, because there's 30 drums altogether, divided by 3. Well, that's saying if we took these 30 and cut them into 3 equal parts, how many would we have in each one? Well, what that means is we've got 1, 2, 3. All right, here's our 3 different parts. So how many was in this one row right here? Well, we already counted this. It was 10. 30 divided into 3 groups equals 10. Our final answer will not be the largest number. It might be bigger than over here. It might be smaller. But the largest number is the one we're going to start with. That's the first thing that we need to know about our division problem. We always start with the whole, so it's going to be the biggest amount. All right? So let's go ahead and take a look down here at box B and C. All right. Before I look at box B, I want to jump over to C. And it says the dividend is the number of objects being divided. The dividend. That's the beginning number. The dividend is what is the whole that we're cutting into parts. All right. So our whole is our dividend. That's what we start with. The divisor is the number that another number is being divided. So our dividend is what we start with. Our divisor is what we're breaking it into. So 30 divided by those 10. And then quotient is the answer to a division problem. All right, we just said that multiplication answers are called products. A quotient is for a division problem. So when we talk about our 3 different parts, these are the 3 pieces we need for these division problems. We need the dividend, what we start with. The divisor is what we're dividing it by. And then the quotient is the answer. All right. Now take a look over here. It says a fact family is a group of related facts using the same numbers. All right. So our fact family for 3, 10, and 30. Well, I can do a multiplication problem. 3 times 10 equals 30. And then I can flip these around. That's the associative property. It tells me I can flip these around. So 10 times 3 is going to give me the same answer, 30. Do you notice when I do my multiplication facts, the product will always be the same, okay? So I had 3, 10, and 30. Then I had 10, 3, and 30. Those are the three numbers that we can use for this multiplication part. And when I come over here to the division part, I can use those same numbers, but now I'm going to break them into smaller parts. So let's see, we use our dividend. So we're using our 30 because that's the largest number. So that's why both of these start with 30. Our divisor, so here we had 3 times 10. Now we're having 30 divided by 3. All right, I used my 30. I'm using my 3. And my answer is 10. Here, I am starting with my 30, dividing by 10, and my quotient is 3. We use those same numbers for our fact family. And all it tells us is we can use those same numbers to solve different types of problems. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to grab my whiteboard and walk through this a little bit more with you. So you can go ahead and turn to page 119, but we're not going to start there. I want your eyes on the screen because I'm going to go over a couple more fact families. All right, so here is my whiteboard, and I've got our triangle for our fact family. Now, you can see there's 1, 2, 3 different numbers inside of my fact triangle. Well, what I can do is I can start off by saying, well, what multiplication problems can I do? Well, if I'm multiplying, I'm going to use my smaller numbers, right? So I'm going to start off with my 5, all right? And then I'm going to times it by 3. So 5 times 3. 5 times 3 equals, what's my other number? Well, it's 15. Okay. Now, if I go the other way, I'm going to start at 3. So 3 times 5 equals, you got it, 15. Okay. This is how my multiplication side works. Well, I can do the same thing for my division facts. And so for my division facts, I'm going to start with that 15 because I always start with the largest number. Now, which way do I want to slide down? Well, I'm going to go this way. So 15 divided by 3. 15 divided by 3 equals 5. And I can go back up to the top and do another one. So 15 is my largest number. So 15 divided by, slide down over here. 15 divided by 5 is, 15 divided by 5 is 3. All right? So these are my fact families. These are the fact problems that I can create from 5, 3, and 15. They all have those three numbers. None of them reuse the same number twice. We've got to break them up into some smaller pieces. All right? All right, let's go ahead and try another one before we move on to our book. So here's my next problem. So inside of my fact triangle, I've got 6, 8, and 48. All right, I'm going to start with my multiplication facts that I can create from this. So in my multiplication, I don't want to start with the largest number. I want to choose one of the other smaller numbers. I'm going to start with 8 this time. All right, so I've got 8, and I'm going to times that by, I slide across the bottom, 8 times 6 equals, oh, look at that, 48. 8 times 6 equals 48. All right. Now I'm going to start over here. So 6 times 8 equals 6 times 8 equals 48. Now that part might make sense, but now we're going to go to the division side. This is the part where these are all connected together. These are called fact families because they all work together. So for my division problem, I'm going to start with the largest number. So I'm going to start with my 48, and I'm going to divide it by 8. 48 divided by 8 equals 6. Then I'm going to start over here at my 48. I'm going to divide that by 6 because that's the one I haven't done yet. I wouldn't go back over to 8. I already did that. 48 divided by 6 equals, I hope you said it with me, 8, right? This is how these fact families can work together to create these different problems. All right, well, now let's go ahead and turn to page 119, and we'll look at our guided practice and independent practice together. All right, so here we are on page 119, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at problem number 3. Now, just like we were doing on my whiteboard, I can draw those same triangles. Sometimes those help us to visualize and see the fact families and the ways that they can work together. So would you do this with me? Go ahead and grab your pencil right now, and we're going to just go ahead and draw a triangle. Now, I try to make my triangles, ooh, I got a little bumpy there. I try to make my triangles a little bit bigger so there's room for me to write inside of it, all right? So here's my triangle, and in here, just like I did before, I look at my first fact family. So 3 times 7 equals 21. Well, I know that the biggest number needs to go up on top, and that's going to be my 21. So write that in with me up on the top. All right. Now down below, I'm starting with a multiplication problem. And because I'm starting with a multiplication problem, these can just go in either corner. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to put my 3 over here and my 7 over here. So 3 times 7 equals 21. Well, now I'm going to go ahead and start up here. So 21, and I need to go over to the 3. So 21 divided by 3, what's the only number I haven't used? 7. So 21 divided by 3 equals 7. My multiplication fact helped me out with that. All right. Look at number 4. Number 4 is 18 divided by 2 equals 9. So draw your triangle with me again. All right. There's my triangle. And now I'm going to go ahead and take a look and say, all right, well, if I have 18 divided by 2 equals 9, what of those 3 numbers is my largest number? Well, it's 18. So 18 is going to come up on top. Then my other 2 numbers can go on the bottom. So 2 and 9. 18 divided by 2 equals 9. Well, now look at what we've got. We've got 2 times something equals 18. So I'm going to start at 2. I need to times it by something and end up here. So 2 times 9. I go across. So 2 times 9 equals 18. All right. Take a look at number 5. We're going to do the same thing. So go ahead and draw the triangle. All right. I've got 2 times 10 equals 20. Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions. I want you to fill it in, and then you're going to do this. So in just a second, your video is going to pause for you to solve this. But here's the question. What are you going to put in the top of our triangle? 2, 10, or 20? The largest number goes up here. The 2 smaller numbers will go down here. All right? Once you've done that, then you can look and say, well, what's 20 divided by 2? What's the number we haven't used? So go ahead. It's going to pause the video in just a second, solve that, and then we'll keep going. All right. Hope you paused the video and you were able to get that problem. The way that I would do this, 2 times 10 equals 20. 20 is my largest number, so it's going to go up here. My 2 and my 10 will go down here. 2 times 10 equals 20. Now I've got 20 divided by 2. So 20 divided by 2 equals, the only number I haven't used is 10. Okay? So this is how we can write our different problems. Well, let's go ahead and slide down. So this time around for number 6, we're going to do number 6 together. All right. For number 6, I'm going to go ahead and draw my triangle over here. And this one's a little trickier because they're saying, well, 2 times what gives me 16? Well, in my multiplication problem, my 2 multiples go at the bottom. So 2 and something. And then at the top is going to be 16 because the product is the largest one. So 2 times what equals 16? Well, I'm going to just count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 12, 14, 16. All right. So, goodness, sorry about that. All right. So I've got 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. 8. So 2 times 8 gives me 16. And I made my little tally marks here to keep track of that, right? So now I can say, well, if 2 times 8 equals 16, 2 times 8 equals 16, 16 divided by 2 equals 8, right? That's the only number I haven't used. So I can use the blank spaces in my fact triangle to solve those different problems. You're going to do number 7 in just a little bit, but let's go down here and try out number 8 together. So for number 8, it says they want us to write the fact family for 6, 7, and 42. So when I do something like this, when they're asking me to write out my fact family, I like to put them into my triangle so that way I can clearly see what I've used. All right, so I've got 6, I've got 7, and I've got 42 up on the top. All right. I like to start with my multiplication facts. So if I start at 6 and times it by 7, my answer will be 42. Okay. Now I'm going to start with the other number. So start at 7 times, go across 6 equals 42. The triangle just helps me to keep track of the order. Well, now I need to do my division problems, right? Now I need to do my division problems. So I like to make a little mark here. Now I need to do that. Well, division problems, we always start with the largest number. So I'm going to start with 42. I'm going to say 42 divided by, and I'll slide down here. 42 divided by 6 equals 7. Next one, 42 divided by 7, that's going down the other way, equals, the only number I didn't use was 6. Okay? So my fact families can be solved using a fact triangle. All right? That is how you can solve these problems at the bottom that are asking for those different fact families. All right, well, I hope that this is starting to make sense. I hope that at the end of this lesson, you're able to say, hey, I can see how multiplication and division are related. These are the same numbers that we can reuse in different ways to solve these problems. Thanks so much for working so hard with me today, third grade. I will see you next time, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.